Welcome to Parents Make a Difference. Communication is such an important life skill. It helps us build relationships, whether it's with our kids, our partners, co-workers. It helps us to problem solve, to learn new things. When it's one-to-one, sometimes it's difficult to communicate what we're feeling. Can you imagine communicating to a whole group of people? When you were younger, did you ever have fear of public speaking at school? Well, I know I did. Today, we are so lucky we have an award-winning speaker. Roger Caesar is with us today, and he won the 2021 World Championship of Public Speaking. Now, this was with an organization called Toastmasters, and anybody who knows Toastmasters knows how big of a deal that is. It is a nonprofit organization that helps with confidence in public speaking. But what you might not know, there are 270,000 members, 148 countries. That is a lot of countries. And he won third place in the World Championship contest. So I am so excited to have Roger Caesars here to share some of his journey, to share some of his stories and what he learned through this process. Roger, welcome to Parents Make a Difference.
Oh, thank you very much, Josie, for having me. I'm glad to be here. And I was just going to correct you when you first started there, saying that I had won the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2021. I was like, no, that's Verity Price. But I am top three. I was third in that contest and very, very honored and
Big
glorious.
ordeal. Wow. So, I mean, you've learned to become a better communicator to a whole group, but that must have given you so much experience to also that you take into your life as a parent. And how, as parents, can we become better communicators to our kids? What did you learn through that experience?
I think the biggest thing that I learned in terms of communicating is also listening. We also have to understand that they work hand in hand. So a lot of the things that I learned in Toastmasters, I have how can I say it? I've translated it to being a parent. In that, for me, communication is vital, and children need to understand how to be communicated to. For us as parents, we always think or believe that we know all the answers, and sometimes we don't. And one of the things that I learned was listening, understanding what is being said to me by my kids so that I can convey the proper answer back to them. That's where communication is broken, when there's two sides that don't understand each other or don't want to understand, and one thinks they know all the answers, the other thinks they know all the answers, and instead of listening, which is key, and understanding each other's perspectives, that's when the communication doors open, and there's an easier flow in how to talk to each other.
Very, very good point. I mean, we need to listen more and talk less, right? Sometimes.
Right.
As a teacher, as a mother of five, I'm working on that myself. I think it's something I need to work on also. And I see a lot of other people, are ready to tell them what they did wrong or what's going on. And in fact, just listening, sometimes we even change the way we think about the whole situation by
Mhm.
sitting back and having them talk and tell us first. So you think, hey, sometimes it takes us being part of this kind of organization to help us more to be better listeners
Of
before we
course.
become a better speaker. Excellent point. Excellent point. What kind of challenges did you need to break through? What kind of challenges did you have, you know, towards these competitions? Because wow, this is the world championship speaking competition. This is scary.
I think with the challenges came, you'd have to go back. And oftentimes people ask me, well, Roger, were you always this proficient when you were speaking? Were you this person growing up? And the answer to that question is no. I was the shy kid in the back of the room, sitting in the corner, not wanting to speak at all. And over time, I learned and I realized that being able to speak well and communicate well was helpful not only as in my personal life, but also from a professional standpoint, and of course, now as a parent. I think the challenges were understanding what it is that you need to deliver when you're on those stages. Uh, the key messages that you have, how you deliver that message, and of course, the stories, the personal stories that go along with it. Oftentimes, as speakers, we're afraid to share those stories because we don't want people to hear what goes on within our own personal lives. But those are the same stories in terms of the challenges. Those are the same stories that help other people who are in that audience to understand just exactly what they might be going through or somebody that they know is going through. So, bringing in those three elements, the story, the personal story, challenging myself to know how to deliver that story, and then having a great message with that entire speech was part of that learning process that helped me to get to where I was.
Even yeah, when we're talking to our kids, when we're talking to our partners, sometimes if we just tell them exactly what we want, they kind of can get taken back, like, hey, hey, hey.
Mhm.
But I suppose even telling them a story, like, oh, you know what, I remember when I was, when I went through something like this, or I can relate to what you're feeling because I've gone through this and this. It does. It brings people, it calms them down to listening more.
Yeah,
Sometimes the way we talk, we close people from listening. And you need to help. You need to talk in a way that you've got this huge group of people to be able to relate to you, to
that's
relate
right.
to your message.
I often tell people, and this is something I always say, I say your stories are the gateway to your soul and the pathway to an audience's heart, right? It opens up the gateway to your soul and allows people to see within you as to what you've gone through. And again, this can be related to anything in life. You're sitting down with my when I sit down with my kids and something they may have been going through, I will find something that I have gone through within my own life to convey the message to them to say, look, I've gone through this. I understand where you're coming from. This is what happened to me. And oftentimes, that's what they need to say, okay, maybe dad understands. Maybe he knows where I am. Maybe things are a little different, yes, but along that line, they can see that, hey, dad has an understanding of what I'm going through. So that little story, allowing them to see the gateway into my soul and then into the pathway of an audience's heart, which is them, it makes it so much easier to communicate with them.
That's a great point. You must have been nervous, I would assume, or has that you're not nervous anymore?
Oh gosh, yes, I'm always nervous all the time.
It's good to
Oh
hear.
my
So for all of us that are
goodness.
nervous,
Yeah, people think that just because I've been on so many stages and I've gone around the world and all the things that I've done that I still don't get nervous. I still get nervous. The difference is after a while, you learn how to handle that nervous feeling. Instead of going up there with your knees shaking, your palms sweaty, and all those other things that they say normally happens in those moments, I've learned to channel that energy into an exciting feeling that I'm going out there and I'm going to share my message. I'm going to share my story and I'm going to have fun with this group of people. That's how it is now. And I've learned to do that over time, but the nervousness is still there. You still have that thought in your head, oh my God, are they going to love it? Are they going to enjoy it? And is my message going to be clear? All these questions still come about whether you are 30 years into speaking or if you are just starting off. It's just the way in which you handle it that changes.
I love that you push through it and you don't let that fear say, no, I'm not going to do it. Forget it. This is too scary. I mean, because that is a skill in itself that we should be teaching our kids, that we should be doing for
Yes.
ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Pushing through fear and doing it anyway. So what are the strategies you use to help you calm yourself a little bit so that you're better prepared?
One of the things that I've always loved is music. My father loved music. Every Saturday morning, whether you wanted to get up or not, there would be music playing downstairs, and he'd be doing some chores or something around the house. And it didn't matter what type he was playing, and it could be whatever genre of music. But he loved playing music because it was his way of calming down and enjoying whatever it is that he had to do. And in the moments when I was growing up, at the time, as a teenager, you want to sleep, whatever. But over time, I realized how beautiful music is to calming, as they say, the savage beast. And that was what it was with me. Anytime I'm going out and I'm speaking, one of my things that I do is I listen to music. Now, it depends on what I'm feeling for that particular day, but music has always allowed me to change my mood and my mindset into a positive one going out there to perform. That's the biggest thing. Other than that, it was my eating. What I would do is normally I don't like to eat before I speak, but I'd make sure that I've eaten enough so that I still have that energy to go out there afterwards and put on a performance. So those are the two things for me.
Wonderful. Music can change my attitude, can change my feelings. I know some people, music is not their thing. It doesn't do that for them, so they need to find something else. But finding strategies like that, or exercising, or whatever it may be, or saying certain things. What do you say to yourself? What are some of the things you say to yourself? Your
I
self-talk.
don't know if I want to say all of that. It
That you're
might be it
amazing, that
might
you're going
come
to be
off
great.
yeah, it might come off a little bad right there on that sense, but you have to put positive affirmations to yourself. I think that's always important when you're going to do anything big, not just speaking, but just anything that you want to go out and perform at your very best. And even with my kids, that's one thing I've always done. Their walls or in their bathroom, and we started this from when they were young, they would put up little pictures or sayings. They would write it out and they'd put it on the mirror or anywhere where they knew they could see it. Something that was positive, some positive affirmation that they could see every single day to let them know, okay, the minute I get out of this house or the minute I leave to go do whatever I got to do, I'm amazing. My greatness awaits. Whatever it is, I had them put little things up on the wall, or there'd be pictures or quotes that I heard from before, or they have heard. And they've been trained now to know that, hey, if I heard something that I really liked that was positive, I'm gonna write it down or I'm gonna take a picture of it and then I'm gonna put it up and have it somewhere where I can see it. That's what is very important. And I think regardless of who you are, what you say to yourself, it must be something very positive that will bring out that energy, that real fire and desire to go out there and do the very best that you can.
I love that you share that because I don't think parents know how powerful that one strategy is. I don't think I even knew how powerful that one strategy is. I use it also. And when you listen to people who have succeeded, like yourself, in 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 many areas, different, you know, um, different things, a lot of them, that is a strategy they use. Their self-talk. First, they've got to put it in them because I don't think it's something that comes naturally.
Right.
Some of us tend to like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to do good. Oh, I might be
Right.
terrible. Or this is scary.
Right.
I'm going to fail. Or
Mm-hmm.
um, the negative likes to come in first. But I
Mm-hmm.
like the way you are intentionally putting these words in your mind. It's done with intention, and you're doing it for your kids because you realize how powerful that is.
Yes. I think for me, it comes from how my mother was. My mother was the big cheerleader in our family. She would go to all of my sporting events. I was in sports since I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. I was in sports. And she was always there as that cheerleader. And her comments after and before were always positive. No matter how bad the situation may have turned out, she always had something positive to say, and I always appreciated that from her. And that's what I do with mine, is I throw those positive comments to them, and I push them. And I think this is the other thing that and maybe it's just me, but I've noticed over time is we're afraid sometimes to push our kids in a positive manner, not in a negative way, but to challenge them.
Give me an example of that, because some people say, "Oh, all we do is talk positive. How are they going to live in the
Right.
outside world if that's all we do?"
And that's a beautiful thing right there that you just said, because our world has changed so dramatically over time from when we were kids, and in comparison to them now. I think that one of the things that I always tell my children, first of all, education was huge, from my mom all the way up with my parents, my dad, they were both teachers growing up. So education was huge for us. That is instilled in my children as well. I have always told them that your education is at the forefront of anything, no matter what. So they've always understood that. But from the perspective of what you're saying, I also challenge them and I tell them, look, I want to see you go out there and don't tell me that you cannot do something. The words cannot, can't, all that, I don't want to hear it. I want you to always have that mindset that you can do it. So even if it's so difficult for them and they realize, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, Dad. The mindset is always flipped around in our household to say, no, we are not going to say we cannot do anything or we can't do it. We're going to find ways to do it. And if we don't find a way by ourselves, we're going to find a way by asking someone who might be able to help us. But we will find a way no matter what. And they have adapted that. And again, this isn't to say that everybody will have this work for them. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm simply saying is that my kids have failed a million times over. I have failed a million times over, horribly in some cases. But having someone there to say, hey, listen, get up. That's not the end of the world. Let's dust ourselves off. You can do this. You can get through this. Let's go. I think that is what helps us, even in those horrible, dark moments. Having someone there to say, we are going to pick you up and we're going to push you forward. No matter what you think you can't do, we know you have the ability to get through this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I heard a story the other day of a father who said to his kids, "Every day I want you to fail at something."
Mm.
And so she said she comes home one day and she says, "Dad, I tried out for basketball and I didn't make it." And they're like, "Yeah, high five." Because he wanted to change that perspective of what failure is. If we're willing to
Mhm.
fail, we're willing to try more, then we're willing to do more, right? So I love that you have that
Yeah, I think
perspective.
there's a thin line on that too, and I love how that particular person did that. Uh, the only thing that I would worry about in that sense is if failing becomes okay, right? Do you
Mhm.
see where I'm going with that?
Yep,
Instead
see your
of,
point.
hey, understand that you're going to fail, but you could pick yourself up, rather than, oh well, I failed.
Yeah.
You said it's okay to fail, right? There's that thin line, so we always got to be careful with how we do it. And I appreciate how this person did it, who you're talking about, because at least they gave their kids the momentum to say, hey, you know what? I can get back on the horse and do this again. You know, a high five, let's go. That's
Yeah, the
good.
person that um, ended up becoming very successful, I think she's the owner of Spanx, and
Hmm.
it's this woman. I just don't recall her name at the moment, but she's the one who shared the story on a seminar I was listening to. So luckily, she didn't
Great.
let it hold her back.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. It's absolutely great.
When giving a strategy, and we've learned this through Toastmasters, the sandwich effect,
Hmm.
which I love and I'm learning from, how to start off with something positive like a sandwich with the two breads and the meat in the middle,
Hmm.
give them something to grow on, and then end it with something positive. And I thought, that's a great strategy because if you tell me all that I do wrong all the time or everything that I need to correct, I'm like, oh, I did something awful again, or I'm not good enough, right?
Mhm,
Whereas
mhm.
that sandwich effect was like a really, I found an amazing strategy.
Yeah, it tears down the character of a person when you do that over and over and over again. And unfortunately, we see that so many times, especially with the youth of today, where they're torn down so many times. And it's unfortunate. The simple method that we have in Toastmasters of that sandwich method, it can be used in anything, in parenting, at work. It could be used anywhere.
Our
Yes.
partners,
For partners, yes. For partners as well, there's a way in which that simple method can help diffuse negative situations from happening or reoccurring over time, because not everything that has happened has to always be met with negative attitudes. Sometimes there's, again, I'm going to use my children. They come home with a bad grade. Now, my youngest daughter, I've got two kids. My oldest is already out of school and working now. She's 28 years old. And then my youngest is 18 and just started university. And she is a go-getter. My youngest one is such a go-getter, loves school, works really hard at it, and has that mentality that, yeah, I want to be a lawyer. I want to do everything I can to become a lawyer. So her mind is focused on it. But when she fails or she doesn't do well in a class, she comes home and she's, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do good at this. And the first thing I always say is, look at all that you've done. Look at all you've done so far. You've done amazing. So you failing at this, while it is not good, think about it from the perspective, what can you do differently next time? What can change the next time around? Well, I guess I could have studied a little more on this, or I guess I could have asked my teacher on this particular portion that I didn't understand. I should have asked instead of sitting there and not wanting to be embarrassed. So little things like that, you get the answers very easily if you just approach it differently, which is why that sandwich method, no matter what industry you're in or what relations you're in, it's easy to do it.
yes, you're so right. Wow, I've gotten so much from you. I love your story. I love that you've achieved uh in the world championship, because that is a great accomplishment. I know this took you into you're also doing coaching now.
Yes, I founded Caesar Empire Speaking and Coaching, where we are building an empire of captivating communicators, as I always say. I love what I do because it's me giving back. It's showing, giving other people an opportunity to say, I didn't know I could do this, and then flipping that to, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. So we love bringing in clients from all worlds, whether it's from the professional standpoint or those who are upcoming speakers. Uh, we work with them. We teach them the skills of communication, the skills of putting together great presentations, great speeches, and going out there and absolutely shining and finding their greatness.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that you said that resonate with the parents that are listening. Um, I can resonate with some of your stories, and I can learn from your story. I am so thankful. I wish you great success in the future and for your kids. And thank you for being on Parents Make a Difference. Parents, remember, you make a difference.